Okay, so we're going to continue with our form. First thing I'm going to do is show you the correction. So I mistakenly thought that the HTML5 form attributes did not handle the drop-down list that you get with this select type of input. Well, it turns out that I had a problem in my select code, so I'll show you that right off here. So here we go. This is the code, and here's the fix. I had forgotten, I know a bunch of old versions of HTML, that you need to put these values in. So if you put the values in and you leave the first value blank like this, and then you put the required attribute on the form, the HTML5 attributes will work fine in the browser. So what we're at now is that if we have a compliant browser that supports the HTML5 extensions, we really don't have to do too much work to verify the form on the client. Now, it's really, really important to remember that you always have to verify for security reasons on the server. And that's not really what we do in this course, okay? The reason for that is somebody can simply use a tool to submit data to your form, and they can do anything they want with that. And you have to be careful how you use the data on the server, okay? So the whole idea of this is just to basically prevent an excess amount of bandwidth usage with round tripping, where the form goes back and forth between the server. And again, the HTML5 seems to do that really well. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the JavaScript to do the form verification. And so you might want to do this if you want to support down-level browsers. And before we get to that, let's just talk a second about how this works. So what happens is the HTML5 elements get applied first, then the form creates an event which is on submit, and we're going to write a JavaScript function that will work with the on submit event. And the way this function works is it basically does the verification and then it returns either true or false. If it returns false, that means that the form is not correct and needs something to be fixed. And in that case, that'll block the submission of the form so it won't be sent to the server. If the onSubmit method returns true, then the browser will go ahead and submit the form data to the server. Okay? All right. So basically, I've gotten a couple of functions here. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie this in with some CSS. So I've created a CSS rule that basically put an angry red border around the part of the form that needs to be fixed. So if we look at the CSS, here's the rule. And you can see that this is a class rule. So this could really be applied to almost anything. We call that a generic rule, actually. So anything that has a class of error display. So what we're going to want to do with our JS code is add the error display class to the elements that have an error. And later on, we'll see that we can do this real easily in jQuery. It's a little bit more involved to do it with JavaScript. And so I went to a web search, I think that Slack, whatever it is, slack.com, and I found these two functions, add class and remove class. But later on with jQuery, we won't need them. So what the add class does is it takes a handle to an element within the page and the string, which is the class to add to it. And I'm not going to go through the code. You should be able to look through the code and read it yourself. Basically what it does, it looks to see if it doesn't already have any class. If it does have a class, then it looks to make sure that the class isn't already there, and then it adds it in, and then it sets it, okay? Now, we also have a remove class function, which is the complement, and again, that works the same way. It checks to see if the class is null, and then if it's not, it goes through the class and basically filters out the class that you want to remove. Okay? We're not going to actually use the remove class here. Okay, so for this to work, as I mentioned, I'm going to have to actually disable the HTML5 verification attributes because they'll block the form before it gets to the onSubmit function, and then basically I would never be able to really show you how the form works. So I'm going to do this for our first name field, And so if we look here, here's the first name field. We have the placeholder, and it looks like I've already removed this here. So originally I had required and I had the pattern, and that was forcing the HTML5 browser to go ahead and verify the form. So I've already removed that. I had forgotten that I'd done that. So now we'll go on over here. And again, we have our typical window on load function. That's going to just load everything when the page after the page renders. And then notice this document get element ID app form. That's the name of my form here. So there's app form. And then the on submit is the method that's the event that occurs when the user hits the submit button. So we have a function here, which is an anonymous function for the on submit. I've got a little bit of debugging in here, so alert got the form, tells me that the function ran. I'll remove that once I get the form, the function working. We go ahead and grab our first name element, and then we have a regular expression that we match against it to see if it's correct. Let's just quickly review the regular expression. Again, we have the anchor, which means that we can't have a substring match. The first string of the first character of the field has to match the first character of the pattern. Similarly, we have the $sign here at the end, which anchors the end. So this gets an exact string match, not a substring match. Proceeding through here, first we have to have a capital letter. Then we have a sequence which can either be a capital or a lowercase letter, and we have to have at least one of those. That's what the plus sign means. Then we have another expression, and notice the star operator here. So that says 0 or more of these. So this pattern would actually take something like Ty, T-Y, for a first name, which is actually a name. There's a famous baseball player named Ty Cobb. The second part of this, which is optional, 0 or more, is going to have a space followed by another uppercase letter, at least one. Well, no, just one. And then any number of upper or lowercase letters. So this pattern should accept things like Tom E. Wolf with middle initial, stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not going to put my full name in here, but we have names like Mary Sue, Mary Ellen, so multiple words in the first name. So this expression should do the trick. And then here we're going to basically, if this doesn't match, that means that it was put in incorrectly. And so we'll go ahead and add the error display class to the first name field, and that should show an angry red box around that. Then we have another alert. This alert is really a message to the user. It says, hey, you have to put your first name in. And then we return false to block the submission of the form to the server. And then notice over here I have another debugging message in here, first name okay, and then return true, which actually should then submit the form to the server. Okay, and then what will happen then, of course, if I'm running this on the web, is it'll run our PHP script. All right, well, let's see if this is working. I was actually having a little trouble getting this to work, but we'll see if we can get it to work here. So I'm going to go ahead and view this in Chrome, and here's my form. And let's go ahead and let's see, I'm recording this, so I don't want to put my address in here, so we'll use our Fred, and then go ahead and give Fred an age, which has to be in range, and we'll make Fred female this time. All right, okay, so this looks good. So this should pass. Now I'm going to go ahead and screw the Fred up a little bit and put some numbers in here which shouldn't match the form. So now I'll hit submit. There's my debugging message saying that my form method ran, my onSubmit method. And now something happened. So it went right to submitting the form. So I've got something wrong in the form code here, in the onSubmit code. So I'm going to pause this, try to figure it out, and come back and talk. Well, I'm not having much luck, so I thought I might share this with you. I'm using the Chrome debugger. I've just reloaded my code. I've got the script up here, and I set a breakpoint here at the alert. And I am just sort of perplexed here. So I'm going to go ahead and put Fred in again. There's our 17, female. Everything else is good. And when we hit submit, it goes to the breakpoint. And then I can step through. So then there's the got the form. I hit OK. And then I'll step through again. And I wonder if there's a way to read what this function is here. If the value, well, it doesn't matter. I know it's going to work. I just did this. So if I click through it again, let's see. First name, okay. So this time I did it with Fred. I forgot to change the form when I did the input. Okay. Let's try it again. So we'll run it back, reload. Actually, I'll do this. Fred 123. So that should be wrong. That's got illegal characters in it. All right, here we go. Submit. Hits the breakpoint. Got the form. Okay. Hit it again. Now this time this should fail, which it does. And then it should run the add class method, but it doesn't. For some reason it jumps and submits the form. All right, let me pause this and I'll continue. Well, gee, I'm an idiot. Remember I mentioned this was supposed to be a string? I ended up loading Firefox's debugger up, and I finally got a message that said error display is not defined. So this has to be a string. So I think it'll work now. Let's see. We'll go on back here. Chrome. There's my Fred 123 again. This is illegal, so the regular expression should catch that. Other ones. Oops. Submit. There's my debug. Got the form. And now, please complete the first name field. Hit OK. Now the only thing is I'm not seeing my error display here. So let me continue here, but at least I fixed that one little problem. I think the rest will come quickly. Wow, I'm starting to think it's like Three Stooges coding or something today. Turns out my CSS was wrong. That's why I wasn't getting it. So I rewrote it. So here's the new error display. Border color red, border width thick. I tried to use the shortcuts. I'm not very good at those, and I guess I got it wrong. So now it actually works. I'll go to source code view, preview in Chrome. We'll get our Fred 123, which is going to be wrong. Go ahead and add that. Make Fred female. Don't need to pick one. We will. There's the red box from the CSS now. And then we can hit OK. Now, if I go ahead and change this, so now the form is legal, and it's still keeping that. So really, I could add better code to fix it, but now when I submit it, it will go ahead and submit it. Now, because I'm running this locally, the form isn't showing any data, so I'd have to run it on the server for that. I've already shown you that, though. Okay, sorry. I think you might have enjoyed me flailing around there, and hopefully that was helpful.